I think I mentioned this on a stream the other day. I had a craving to rewatch Next Generation the other day. Also, I had a craving to rewatch Farscape and Stargate SG-1. But all of those shows, I'm gonna say something here that's it's annoying to me as an adult. Um, uh, I used to like shows that had 24 episodes, and I don't anymore. I like shows that have short runs, like 8 to 12 episodes. Anything beyond 13, and I start to feel like you're really reaching because they're not able to produce a tight storyline. Because once you get beyond 13 episodes, they start to produce filler episodes, the episode of the week format that X-Files used and Star Trek. Like, one of the reasons I tuned out of Arrow, I think it was season 3 of Arrow or season 4 of Arrow was when I stopped watching. So it's like, I just don't have time to watch. There's Chris and I, before I was doing this for a living, welcome to the channel, Nova Prime. Before I was doing this for a living, Chris and I used to watch a lot more television. We were at one point in time, I tracked it and I published it. My brother flipped out because I put it up on Facebook. We were watching 36 shows. Was how many shows we were watching in a period of like 6 months. We were just watching all of these shows. We're trying to balance all of these weekly episodes and binge watching this and binge watching that, and balancing these weeklies. And it got to be this thing where it was like, I don't have the fucking time to keep up with 24 episodes per season because there are just too many things that we want to watch. So I much prefer 10 episodes, like 10, 12 episodes, because then it's a tight, you get 6 hours of entertainment, let's say. If you've got some 45-minute episodes and there's, 10 of them, you're getting 6-ish hours of entertainment. It's a good mini series worth per show. And I just don't have the desire to ever try to keep up with that anymore. Now, when those shows were the only thing I watched, like the X-Files, when the X-Files, watching the X, and I only watched the X-Files, it makes sense because you're tuning in every week over the summer or whatever, over the period that's airing. And so they keep you busy for months on end. But I don't have time for that anymore. I much prefer those tight storyline runs. I liked when Netflix was doing the Luke Cage, Defenders, Jessica. Why am I blanking on the name of her show? Daredevil. Like those were always like 13 episodes, and I felt like that was really good, really tight storytelling across those story arcs. 8 episodes seems to be the new standard for a lot of stuff, and sometimes I feel like 8 can be a little too short. I kind of like 10 to 12, but 8 can be good if they've done it really well. Like my brother and I both loved Obi-Wan, Andor, good shorter shows. And I think we're getting ready to watch the new season of Reacher. The first 3 episodes dropped the other day, season 2 of Reacher on Amazon. I think that was 8 episodes for the first season, 8 or 10 episodes, and it was a nice tight run. Like we binge watched the first series over like 2 days, and it was just like, pff. Yes, Breaking Bad, a good example of a 10 episode run where it was just really, really good. Quality is important, Bam. Quality is important, but I think that the like Star Trek Discovery showed that you could still have episode of the weeks with a story arc that is multiple episodes, but not every episode. Black Sails is great, but that was still short. Black Sails only did, I can't remember, like 10 or so episodes per season. We've seen Black Sails through, I think. I was talking about this earlier when I was playing the demo the other day. I've watched it through 3 times. Chris has watched it through with me twice. Black Sails is probably one of the best, if not the best. It was 10 episodes each, yeah. The only one, and it's funny because Starz also produces Outlander, and Outlander has done 16 episode seasons before. Not every season, but they've split it up into 2 different arcs. So they'll have an 8 episode run, and then they'll take like the winter break and come back like 3 months later and air the next 8 episodes of the season. Charles Vane was the man. I liked Black Sails. That was a great show. And it was funny because my brother, when we were playing Black Sails, he had no idea that Bear McCree had done the theme song, and so one of the instruments you get is in that is what he used to do the theme song for that Black Sails. And I followed Bear McCree on his social media since he did the soundtrack for Battlestar Galactica, because that was like the first big thing he did was Battlestar, and then he's gone on to do just so many shows, and then doing the last couple of God of War games and getting into the gaming space now. That dude is a badass composer. For real, man. He is a legit composer. The other one is before I go any further though, is also talking about the BBC and Britain television will do very short. They'll do 3 episode seasons, right? But the seasons are the episodes are like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So you're getting, in 3 episodes, you're getting 6 hours of entertainment, as if you were watching 10 episodes of a show, because they're like mini movies at that point. So yeah. Another fun fact, a little bit of movie trivia, is Toby Stephens, the guy who played Captain Flint, his mother, and I didn't find this out until after I watched the show, is Dame Maggie Smith, who has done so much stuff over the years, but specifically in like the Harry Potter films and Downton Abbey and stuff. But Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter films. And I watched, the reason we watched the Lost in Space adaptation that Netflix did was specifically because Toby Stephens was in there as the lead actor, and Chris and I had just finished our third episode, or a third watch through of Black Sails when Lost in Space started, and we were like, hey, that's Captain Flint, let's go watch that show. And if you haven't watched the Lost in Space adaptation that Netflix did, it's definitely a family-friendly show. Really good. A lot of fun. For sure. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know he was Maggie's son until, like, I don't remember. It was like, I think it was after the third time we had watched Black Sails and we were watching Lost in Space. I was looking him up online because I had just seen like a clip from like one of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond. I was like, wait a second, that's a really young Toby Stephens. I forgot that he was the villain. Like, I didn't have any recollection of him being the villain from back in the day in that one James Bond film. But yeah, Black Sails, what a good show. Oh, and here's another fun fact. So the guy who played Long John Silver, the actor who played Long John Silver, I follow him on TikTok, and he does this series on TikTok where he reads like the first few pages from a novel, and it's just a series he does on TikTok in between his acting gigs. That's pretty cool stuff, man. I can't remember his name. I'm going to go look it up right now because I'm sitting here on the wiki page for Luke Arnold would be who that was. Man, I would totally watch Black Sails again. That was just a damn good show. And it's proof that Michael Bay can actually produce some good television. Pa-ching! They need to do more pirate shows. Like good pirate shows. The History Channel tried to do a pirate show like a couple years back where it was like a history documentary type thing, what they tried to do with like, it was a blend between what they did with Vikings, but then they tried to intersperse it with like actual historical stuff, and it was just horrible. It was a horrible, the acting was horrible. It was not a good rendition. Oh, and Ray Stevenson. We were talking about this either. Ray Stevenson is Blackbeard in Black Sails. Oh my god, he did such a great job. What has Zach McCowan done since then? I know I saw him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I haven't seen him anything since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Looks like he's done some direct-to-DVD films. Oh, he was in Robert the Bruce? I don't know that I've seen that one. Oh, that's not the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a different film. No, that's not the one I'm thinking of. I was thinking of Outlaw King that Chris Pine did, which Outlaw King was awesome if you haven't seen Outlaw King on Netflix. Holy shit! It says here that Zach McGowan, the guy who did Charles Vane, he was in an episode of Numbers back in 2008. Now, see, I watched Numbers when it aired, and that was a phenomenal show if you haven't watched that. And the reason that that's on my mind recently is because David Krumholtz was just on an episode of in the Inside of You podcast with the guy who played Lex Luthor on Smallville. He runs a podcast. It's really cool, and he interviews a ton of celebrities. By the way, the episode with number 2. Why am I blanking on his name? He directs all the Star Trek episodes. Riker's actor. Why am I blanking on his name? Anyway, he was on, and his episode was amazing. It was just really fun. It was but that's a good podcast for those of you who don't who are into podcasts and stuff. But Numbers was a really cool show. I didn't know that he was in an episode of that. Hang on, I'm gonna go look through. What else have I seen him in? He's been in stuff recently. So the last thing I saw him in was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Says he had a part. He was on Walking Dead. The MacGyver reboot, which I haven't seen. Blood and Treasure. Haven't seen that either. And The Rookie Feds. Huh. So he hasn't done a ton of stuff since. Jonathan Frakes, thank you. That's who I was thinking of. Zach McCowan's website literally just says the dude from that show. Oh, man. Yeah, I catch it on YouTube, Bam. I don't actually listen to it anywhere. I watch it on YouTube. I subscribe for the clips, and then if the clips get me, I watch the full episodes. But the Jonathan Frakes one was pretty awesome. I gotta timestamp this because that was actually a good discussion, everybody, to put up on YouTube.